Hello there and welcome to Concept Hunter. My name is KOKOStern and today's subject is Offset. This is a very unique game in which it doesn't really do the things we expect. It is not a game where you run around and shoot stuff. It is a very unique experience, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. It has its problems, which we will discuss, but it did something beautiful. It actually let me experience something that I usually don't really appreciate in a very different way. I'm the type of person that when you see a beautiful picture, or when you go to a museum and you just look at a beautiful painting, I look at it for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, I say, wow, that's pretty, and I move on. Okay, I'm very not an art person. It's just, I can appreciate it, but I'm done with it very quickly. I look at it, it's nice, move on. And this game actually got me to appreciate pictures by looking at them for a long time, and that's it's pretty special and it's pretty cool, I think. Now, with that said, let's actually look at what the game is. So it's called Offset, and we're going to start at the beginning here. We get a little bit of text. Highlight unfinished parts, cost 10 score points. So we know that there is score in this game, though we don't really know what the score is a factor of, and that's a little bit of an issue. But first, let's just talk about the mechanic itself. It is very clear to us that these parts are not where they should be. They stand out quite powerfully, and when we start interacting with things, we see that the interaction for each part is quite different. This, for example, I can only drag up and down. This was a circle, and this one we just click until we reach the correct place. Then we get South Africa, the photographer. So this is in South Africa, quite a beautiful picture. And we can move forward and giving credit to the photographer, which is also very important. Here we get a little bit of a different shape, but the mechanic is the same as a triangle. You just click it a certain amount of times until it reaches the correct position. There are a lot of mechanics in this game. Out of all the mechanics, this is the one that pisses me off the most, because it's the least mechanic out of it. It's the least actual interaction. With everything that we've seen so far, and pretty much most of the things in the game, there is a finite amount of options for me for movement, okay? There's a very finite amount of options, but it still allows me I need to find it, okay? I need to play around with the shape until I find the correct one. And in this thing, you just click it a certain amount of times until you hear that when it comes in. Now, the fact that I can not look and just try and hear it. Okay, my mouse cursor is there. I'm not gonna look. I finished it without looking. That to me means that you didn't do anything. You required nothing of the player, and that pisses me off a little bit. That specific mechanic, in my opinion, should not be here at all. All the other mechanics are pretty good. All the other ones that require you to actually move around and find the correct place, those to me are more interesting. Yes, you could just not look and just move it a little bit at a time. There's a finite amount of options here as well, but it's a much bigger amount instead of just there's 8 places. And that's that specific mechanic doesn't have place in this game as far as I'm concerned. Outside of that, this is pretty much the game. You get beautiful pictures, and then you get to interact with them and try and find the correct positions of each part, because they're out of it. There's displacement of these parts, and you just try and find them. And it's nice because it really lets you interact with the picture and appreciate it in a different way. And that to me is something unique that not a lot of games do. They take a different type of medium and you interact with it, which otherwise you wouldn't interact. You just look at the picture and that's it. And that's really cool to me. Now, issues with the game. I do have a couple of issues with the game. And first and foremost, it is the tip system. Now, the tip, we talked about score. There's apparently score. I have no idea what my score is, even when I finish the level. And I have no idea what are the factors of score in any way. Specifically, I don't care about score. But for players who do care about score, and those definitely exist, that's why you have score in games, they need to know how to get better scores. They need to know if it's a factor of only time or the amount of clicks that you press, and they get zero feedback about the score, and that's a big problem there. Specifically, the tip system It takes away a little bit of score points, which makes that's how a tip system should work. That's fine. But the tip system is meaningless in this game. The interactivity, the main part, is because you see what parts are different, what parts do not fit, and then you interact with them with whatever interaction you currently have. The tip system, what it does is only tell you the parts that are different, and that is incredibly obvious. I mean, if I click it, it just shows me the parts that need to be interacted with, and that is the most obvious thing in the world. That doesn't do anything. No one will ever need to use the tip system because it's all very, very obvious, and it's in all levels very obvious what you need to interact with. What's not obvious is how to interact with it or where to find the correct place. As an example, this part is very obviously right here, but in a more difficult level, or maybe for someone it's not obvious, if I click this and then I click the tip system, I'd expect you to give me some kind of rectangle, or it goes somewhere around here. That would help me. That would be a tip. This doesn't do anything. It's very obvious to me that these are the parts that are different in this picture and require interaction. So the tip system is kind of out of place. It's not a huge deal. You can just remove it completely, but it is something that I was just, why is that? In this specific level, I hate the mechanic because that should work. It did. Okay, good for me. And here, that should work, I don't know, but if it doesn't, I have to move it just a little bit and then wait. There, it didn't work, so I have to move it just a little bit. Maybe that was correct. I have to wait, 0 interaction, there's nothing you can do about it, and then it finds that. So this very specific level with this specific mechanic I kind of hated. What I wanted to talk about is actually progression. And this is the biggest thing, the biggest problem that I have with this game. It has no progression. The interest curve is very random and all over the place. The hardest level in the game is this one, at least for me. It might be different for other players, but this one was for me, and I want to explain why. It's quite clear that that because the background image, let's see if I can find the exact correct one, because the background image, it should be somewhere here. There you go. Because the background image is in black and white, it makes it a lot harder for me to find the correct placements for these parts. This was actually difficult, okay? This level took me a while because I got stuck on one of the top ones. I just got stuck and couldn't really find it. This was hard. This was the hardest level in the game for me. And it's somewhere in the middle. And the stages after it are pretty easy again. There's no progression in that. And you can find things that are very easy. It's simple to do things that are easy, but there are mechanics that are difficult, okay, and that take a while to actually solve. You could do it. You proved to me that you could do it, so why isn't there a better progression? Why isn't there a better interest curve? You want to hook the player in with beautiful images and very simple things, and then you want to have a lull, and then heights, you know, a standard interest curve that ends in a crescendo that's very difficult, but the picture is incredibly amazing, especially after you remove the black and white and you can see the actual image, and it's amazing. So that needs to come somewhere, okay? You need to have a progression and not just randomly throw a picture and what mechanic you kind of feel with the picture, and that's the feeling that I got. As an example, the level, it goes from left to right and from top to bottom, so like this, okay? So as an example, take a look at this level. This level, it's a very beautiful picture, but the level of interaction here is very minimal. And this is again something you just click until you find it, okay? I just click it until it gets the correct position. There's barely any interaction here. Okay, it's a very easy level in that sense that you don't really do anything here. And these you just move around until you find it. Pretty easy to do, in very direct contrast to what we did earlier. This one, I have no clue, but I just have to move around until I find it. Okay, and that's it, and I'm done, and I get the beautiful picture, but it's rather odd. So this is a really cool thing. I really enjoyed it. It's called Offset Game, just Offset, and it is done by, it's sponsored by Games Hero, and the author is Spiker562. It's really awesome. The progression you need to work on, the hint system's kind of odd, but it actually made me appreciate pictures in a way that I've never appreciated pictures before, and that is to me special. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.